Take 2. What happened in 2019?
Yeah, what was that?
Well, what are you talking about?
In case you're living under a rock,
No one had to walk away from anything. Like everyone could have just talked.
And that's all it was.
Heal, time heal. Because then you look back and now I think people would make different decisions. Probably one of the scariest part is post-rugby. We forget that as rugby players. I think when you get to like 35, 40 years old, and you're still playing footy and you're like coming toward you think, my life's over.
Yeah. Oh, mate, don't even get me started. Can you talk about your experience during 2019?
You got us all in trouble.
When I was praying for that test, God wanted to test everyone, That's not who
I'm still Samu, I'm still Samu. I'm still the kid from Vunda VCC.
Oh, wow, he's not actually what the media portray him out to be. But
they don't believe the media.
No, exactly.
They believe this podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Izzy and Maria show. Today I got my beautiful co-host, my beautiful wife Maria, and today I'm excited. This is our first guest on the show, and we're super excited for this one. Welcome, Mr. Samu Kerevi.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on the potty. Really excited to be here and just talk life.
That's it, eh? That's what it's all about. Isn't
That's it, eh?
Now we're looking forward to this chat. Long time coming. Maria and I have been talking about doing this for a long time. Yeah. And, we're finally doing it.
Yeah.
We're finally doing it. So, we're excited about today. And, let's, get straight into it, We'll talk about want to touch on your upbringing. And I understand you were born in Fiji.
Yeah.
And you pretty much was raised by your grandparents from a young age. Can you just talk about that and how that all happened, as a young kid?
Yeah, pretty different upbringing to, I guess, the western side of things are done, and I guess you two would kind of know how things work in, especially our culture and the Pacific Islands, where grandparents usually raise our kids and always pretty much part of their lives. But I had probably 180 where they really raised me from a young age, and from Fiji. My parents had us at a very young age. I think it was 19, 20, had my brother and I, and we're 14 months apart. So at the time, mum and dad couldn't really look after us well, but there's still a lot of love there. And my grandfather from my mother's side, I guess, kind of raised me. So it was a different upbringing, but I thought it was pretty special in a way. I got real close with my grandparents, and funny enough, it's not even my grandparents. It's my grandmother's sister's side who raised me. So I don't know if that's, I guess, great uncle they'll call here,
but in the island way, it's
everyone's grandparents, everyone's cousins.
Doesn't matter.
So they didn't have to do that, but they did. Grew up in Suva, which is a pretty rough area where we stayed in Kinoya, in Savai Street, which is a known street in Suva. So I had a lot of love growing up, and it was very different because I didn't spend a lot of time with my brothers during that young age, and it was pretty special.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You touched on your, you just said you didn't spend much time with your brothers. How did that feel growing up for you, if you can remember?
Yeah.
I know you were young. Did that feel like a huge separation for you?
Yeah, I think when you look back at it as an adult, then you realize how much time you miss with each other, but also how it's so different to how siblings, like when I've lived in Australia, how siblings are, but like there's no different. It felt no different for myself, because my older brother was actually raised by my actual grandparents on my mum's side.
Wow.
So it was like he was in Lotoka, I was raised in Suva, and then once I moved away from Fiji, my little brother also who was born in Suva, he ended up being raised by my parents in Vunda, which is another place. So
You guys were all scattered around.
yeah,
No,
kind of all
that's
scattered.
crazy.
Because once I moved away, my little brother was kind of being raised by my parents, like where our village is and stuff in Vunda. So it's crazy to see the situation that we're in now in Japan and being all together. So, but like I said, the upbringing was full of fun, and my grandfather was working for the government at the time, for the British government, so the Commonwealth, and he moved away to Solomon Islands. So when he moved, he took the whole family, and I went with them. So,
So that in itself,
Yeah.
you've got quite an interesting upbringing.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were telling us before
Yeah.
we pressed record,
Yeah.
how you had to move
Yeah.
away because of the coup that was happening in Fiji. And for those of you who don't know what a coup is,
I didn't know
remember?
that.
yeah.
I do remember, but I'll let Samu explain. I've got a better understanding of it now.
Oh yeah, so we moved to Solomon Islands for my grandfather's work, and he's like more of a diplomatic like job around that. Not a
Right.
diplomatic person, but like it's kind of his role. Who's going around? He's traveled like in so many countries where, to the point where he had like 2 passports stamped back to back because it's just no room. So he traveled at a pretty cool rate. But we were living in we moved to Solomon Islands, and then like you said, like a coup happened probably 9 months or a year into us staying there. We were meant to be there for years. Coup happened there, and we left. But on the way back to Fiji, which we were meant to go, there was a coup happening in Fiji at the time as well. This is back in 2000, 99 and between that and 2000.
And how old were you?
I would have been 6, 7 years old
Wow.
back then. Yeah.
You wouldn't have had no idea.
Oh, I
what's
had no
happening.
idea. Like
No.
even when I left Fiji, I thought like we were just going something like just going for like I didn't realize my whole life would
You going
would
for a
change.
holiday.
Yeah, like and the whole direction of my life would change.
Yeah.
Whereas to the point where they adopted me into their family because their last name is Vruki, but my grandfather kept my last name, but like law-wise they had to adopt me because they were taking me.
Yeah, you're taking me.
and it was kind of a blessing looking back at it now, because I had my cousins who stayed in Suva, who are my dad's brother's kids, and that side of the family. But and my dad has 3 brothers and 1 sister. So the sister's kids grew up in that neighborhood, and it was a rough neighborhood, And my uncles are and at that time as well, they were pretty much in the criminal life. And without my grandfather coming in and bringing, I guess, Christianity into the family, they would have stayed in that life. But my cousins saw all that, like that lifestyle. And I go back now and like we talk about it, and they're so happy that I moved away from that. Essentially like being saved from that. But they grew up it. They were, 14, 15 and saw that happen, and they were just saying, man, like it was rough.
And you
like,
could have been caught up in that.
Yeah. Like maybe I would have never become wallaby, or
Yeah.
just never know what it would have looked like. But when we go back now and we go for a feed, and they're just like, man, like look at what you've become, but it could have easily gone a different way. And I thank God for that, because again, like without my grandfather bringing the word to our little family and then into that community, a lot of things would have changed. And it's funny, like that community, or my uncles and the older generation, they always respect my grandfather so much for that. And when he comes home, he's like their grandfather, or their father figure.
Just because of what he's done.
Yeah,
for
just
the
because of what he
family.
done. And he didn't do it for like money or anything. He just
No.
done it because in his heart, like he wanted to be a preacher, obviously, and he wanted to bring the word to the family, and his faith was so strong. And he's been a great example for myself in my life, and reason why I've gone so far is because of his faith, the faith he instilled in me. So, but we ended up obviously going to Solomon Islands, left there because of the coup. So a coup is basically when the military takes over, which obviously
Which is what I asked last time.
Yeah.
Some people watching, they might not
They
know
might
what
not
the coup
know,
is,
but military took over the whole government, and we kind of basically in Solomon Islands we left in a heartbeat. Couldn't take any of our stuff. car came, picked us up, took us straight to the airport, and we were in like a military, those cargo planes.
Yeah.
And on the way to Fiji. Oh, it was meant to come back to Fiji, obviously, but coup happened in Fiji. Another military overtook the government there. And my grandfather always said that the plane was heading to New Zealand, but then it stopped in Australia, and then, stopped in Australia, walked into this big warehouse, had Commonwealth Bank there to give us like banking systems, a visa from the government, Australian government, and clothes and stuff, like Salvos was there, so...
this is stuff that you see in
this is a movie.
Nah, I don't... It's funny when people say that, but like, to me, again, I was just like, it's following... I don't know where we're going. Yeah, we stayed at a hotel, I think, for the first couple of months in Australia before our church family came in and helped us out. But yeah, it's crazy, like looking back now and how far, not just my life, but like my brothers and my grandfather's, like I call him OG.
Yeah.
In his life, they became my mum and dad, my brothers and sisters. So their lives have progressed as well, and it would have been so different being in Fiji, and maybe some of the blessings that we did get.
You wouldn't have.
Yeah, wouldn't have got.
You wouldn't have got.
Yeah, it's pretty special in that sense, and I'm really, really grateful for how things have gone.
Yeah, no, that's unreal. With your biological parents, mum and dad, you were obviously, raised by your grandparents. How was that like? Did they feel like they're your, they're obviously your parents, but that would have been hard too,
Yeah. I think when, essentially I felt like I had 4 mum and dads. Yeah. 4, like, two sets of parents. And even my actual grandparents, like when we go home, again, like culturally, like everyone loves us equally. Our like cousin's mum, they're like our mother. And it just felt like that for me. So it wasn't really, didn't really feel any different, besides the fact that when I went home though, like each year we try to go home for Christmas and stuff. But when I'd go home, my mum would treat me like a baby, like, cause she never really raised me. She raised me till like 6, 7.
She's making up for lost time.
Basically, like, I felt like, and I like milked it. I was like, but I loved like spending time with my mum all the time. Cause like our house would be like, there'll be 8 to 10 people, 12 people, especially when we all go home and just stay in this one house, and we'll sleep on the floor on one big mattress, and everyone, like a marae for the Māoris, hey, the marae,
man.
But it was, it felt no different to me. I felt the love from every side of the family, but I think I felt more sorry for mum because, I could see that, like, that nurture. That she wanted to just, when I was home, and it was funny because like everyone knew that. Everyone, like, I would always say like I'm the favorite for sure, like, and because I'd go home, and like this is like on the holidays, and so every day the boys would be outside, like, doing everything, and my dad would always call me like the white boy because like it was like I was real Aussie, because so the Aussie boy I would go there, I would sleep till probably like 10, and when I wake up, my breakfast would be ready.
Treated like a king.
And everyone, but all my brothers would be outside, like, cutting the
on
grass
the farm and everything.
But like even my brothers, they were like, nah, just stay in, like, we don't want you to hurt your nails or something. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just stay.
Can you come out and get the manioki?
No, just got it near. No, but it was, and she was just like, nah, let him sleep, but I was like, nah, mom, like, don't, I can do that stuff.
You feel bad.
I feel bad, but then like, you go to the river, and she would never let me go. Like, she'd always be like, nah, like, just be careful. Wear some shoes in the... It's like, no, I'm 12 years old. Let me go,
And she knows you,
Yeah. She knew. I was like, I'm Aussie. I'm like plastic, So it was funny in that sense, but like, in terms of the relationship now, it was all the same. No love lost. And like at night, when I got older and I could drive and stuff, when I would go back after the rugby seasons and stuff, like my family just would want to talk about rugby, and it was like, special to them, The house went from like just 5 people in the house to like 20 because the kids would come and just want to like hang out. They wouldn't even want to talk there because they just want to sit and look. Just look and just be like,
oh man,
they just talk to themselves, and it would be the same for you.
I've experienced that when I first went to Tonga. Like they're just in awe, I can't believe, this is a guy we watch on TV, and they really see games, but they're like, they just don't talk. They're just like looking at you.
Yeah.
Or they're just like, you know, they'll come and touch you.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Oh,
And
man.
it's
See
a
the
big
tattoo
deal
or
to them.
something? Yeah.
To them, it's huge, you know, and you just think, oh, it's, you know, it's normal.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
we're
'cause
all
you get that-
family, like,
yeah.
like, you know.
But
I'm
it's
your uncle,
because
but-
they look up to you, you know,
Yeah.
because of what you've achieved and,
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
And like to an extent, like I love that. But I loved also how like the aunties and stuff would just treat me like their son. You know, like but like the love, like again, the love and the prayers and all the blessings I feel comes into my life. I feel like it's because of all the prayers from home.
Yeah.
All the positive energy that you get from them, and when I go home, I try to just I just want to spend time with people.
Yeah.
And especially the family, and you know, they always try to put on big feeds and stuff. And as much as I love it, like I don't want anyone to go out of their way for me, but
just
Making a
to
fuss.
do it.
yeah,
for
like you know, spend a lot of money on food, and I always tell my uncles, man, like we can literally have tea, just
And
go
I'll
get
be happy
bread,
with that,
and I'll be
yeah.
happy as long as we're all together. But you know, them like being family and being so proud,
They want to go.
they want to go above and beyond, and like it's so special, man. Like I'm always humbled by it, especially my aunties like cooking whole days, you know, from the morning just for a feed, and I'm just like, man, like this is what community is. This is what a village, like, you know, it takes a village
community.
to raise someone. This is what it looks like, you know, and everyone is just everyone, and I guess everyone benefits from it, you know. So in that sense, I'm really blessed, and every time I go home, my uncles always want to catch up because they're so grateful for one that my grandfather brought faith into their lives and changed their life, and obviously second is the rugby side of things, that we changed the name from being this family that was into crime, and now it's to like
It's slowly.
you got boys that are playing in, you know, for Wallabies, whatever, and now one's about to play for Japan in the Olympics, you know. So
That's unreal.
that side of things is what we're probably as a family we're really proud of. Not to see what God's done in our life, that He's changed the pathway, you know, and I'll forever be grateful for that.
That's pretty amazing that your grandfather, just one person, had so much impact on the family, and you know, he's done so much. And your journey's quite unique, you know. Explaining, you know, like leaving Fiji at a young age, and you know, going to Solomon Islands and doing all that, and ending up in Australia. Reminds me of a passage in the Bible. It says, "In a man's heart, he plans his way, but the Lord directeth his steps." And that's exactly what I guess God used your grandfather to do, to have so much impact on your family. And that's the fruits of that is the opportunity that's come off that with you, you know, like, and what's that done for you? You know, so that's, man, like, you know, being a man of faith, it's just amazing to see that nothing's ever a mistake with God. That, you know, you've put your trust in Him, and everything's orchestrated the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? I'm always in awe of that, you know, and when something unfolds, whether it's good or bad, you just know there's a sense of peace around if you're in a tough situation, that God's always got it under control. You know what I mean? And so that to me, I find that pretty crazy.
It's just it's funny that you say that, because my dad always tells me the story that when I was born, they were still like into that life, as in my uncles and stuff, and still getting to know my grandfather and stuff. And but when I was born, they wanted to name me after one of my uncles, so like my dad's side. And which is usually there, like, I don't know if it's culturally in Tongan, like someone gets to name the child.
That
certain
happens
people.
in the Tongan culture too.
But because of my grandfather, he goes, he's gonna name it, and everyone was like so off it. Like my dad's side was just it was like I was like, he's not meant to, like, you know, like
who was supposed to do it?
Like my dad's side.
You're right. Okay.
So they were like, oh, because my dad always tells a story that, like, they were, or my mom used to tell me this, like that they're really upset that he was gonna name the child, like as in me. And like even on the birth, the date of the birth, my mom went into hospital, into labor. My grandmother was there, but my grandfather came straight from work and went straight into the delivery room, like in the hospital. Like my grandmother didn't even see him come into the hospital. He just walked straight past the doctors, and he was the first one to hold me. So as the
wow.
doctor gave birth, he gave him to my
Straight to
grandfather.
your
Yeah,
grandfather.
It's not even, I don't even know where my dad was. I don't know where he was. Yeah, but
was
my
somewhere.
grandfather was there. So it was funny because he named me out of the Bible, and no one has my name at that time in the family, and they were like livid about it. They were like, he should name me, and he was like, my mom used to say like my dad was really heartbroken because the family went at him. And was like, man, like you're not a man, like you letting this guy dictate this, and then like to see it happen now, because my name, Samuel is obviously from the Bible, and then but Vatu Nibebuke is means like Vatu is like the rock,
Right.
like a rock, and the rock my helper.
Yeah. All right.
Bebuke is like help me, so like it's representing like God, my helper,
Christ
and
being there,
and it's funny like from that name to what I did for the family in terms of like just helping a little bit financially where I can, and changing the name. Like they're in awe of it. Like man, like
Now.
he saw that. Like even in his plans, like my grandfather just obviously was such a big man of faith, and he didn't name me that until he tells me the story of when I was getting dedicated. So he was tossing and turning about like the middle name,
Right.
and he knew it was going to be Samuela, but
The
what
middle
the
name
book,
was what it
was. But the preacher that preached at the dedication spoke about Vatu Nibebuke, like as in like God helping you being the foundation of your life. And like when he asked him that day, like, oh, what's his name? He said, you just preached about it. Like, so he gave that name, and now my little nephew has my first name. One of my cousins uses Vatu Nibebuke as well for his baby, and like it's just funny how it's just changed everything, like from like you said, one man, but it's more than that. It's just like God's faith in him, and then his faith in God, and it just goes through. And it's just, I laugh at it now because my uncles laugh at it. They're like, man, how wrong we were, like
what we were thinking.
what we were thinking. And there's it was just like culture, back then, and their way of life back then as well. Like it was just like no one holds any grudges. They were just like so grateful that happened because. To where we are now, as like just as them as men and as men of God and that, like it's changed. It's just funny, like because when you were saying that, just made me remind me of that story.
Oh man, I think that's crazy because it's like, to me, like seeing what God's done in our lives, like changed us from what we used to be to now.
Yeah,
we have a sense of peace. It's like, if you don't have God to lead you in everything, it's just, you can only go so far, you know what I mean? But you put God as a driver, mate, he'll take you to wherever you're supposed to go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
According to like what he's like planned for you and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes the journey isn't smooth. It's, you're going to face like storms and that. But when you have Jesus in the midst of that storm, but there's a peace that overcomes all that, as the Bible says. Sort of reminds us of, what we went through back in 2019, and that was a challenge in itself. You know what I mean? Like,
what happened in 2019?
Yeah, what was that?
What are you talking about?
In case you're living under a rock, no, just all that challenge. In terms of when I posted that post, I never crossed on my mind that I was gonna get terminated for that post. You know what I mean? Never ever.
Yeah.
But what's funny was. A couple of months before that unfolded, I was praying and asking God, I want you to test my faith to see where it's at. Because I don't want, I can deliver lip service and say that I want to put you first or I love you above anything else.
Yeah.
But that's just lip service, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want you to put me in a situation where it's really going to test it. And one of those things was that my career was, because I've been doing it for so long. I've been a professional athlete since I was 17. So it can get, you can go through life and at times those things can become your God. You know what I mean?
Idolize.
So it becomes your idol, And I remember praying that prayer a couple of months before that all happened. And when it did happen, I remember thinking, right, I asked for this, but I didn't think it was going to be this hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's, I'm thankful that we actually went through that because I look back now and what God did in the midst of that was like, you couldn't have done it being like comfortable. There was no way. So I was like, You know, that's how I felt at that time. I know, you know, my wife, she went through a whole lot as well, you know, and being in the, I think it was going on, you know, being in the media for the whole, how long was it?
I think it
8
went
years,
on
maybe?
for about
longer than that.
I felt like it
9
was like 3 years.
Yeah, it did feel like
Yeah.
3 years. But with Izzy saying that, you got quite a bit of heat for that as well. Can you talk about your experience during 2019?
Got us all in trouble.
When I was praying for that test, me, like
it
God
tested all
wanted
of
to
us.
test everyone, you know.
No, it definitely tested our faith in terms of that. Like, I didn't want to just be supporting because it was you. I wanted to be not supportive, but just like stand on our faith. That with that faith, like I knew I wouldn't be where I was. Like I wouldn't be playing Wallabies or doing what I've been doing. And I think both Keps and myself were like liking the photo at the time. Like we got a lot of heat and I got heaps of messages that. I think, I've spoken to you guys before about it. Like, we spoke heaps about it throughout that time and even laughing about it after, like, how God tested our faith, but, like, being told I'm, like, a bigot. And, like, when you have kids, like, I want, like, you know, like, just, like...
You're in a hard position because you were the captain of the Reds at the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being in a leadership position and taking that stance, it's not easy, like you said.
Oh yeah, there was a situation we were in South Africa. I got a call. I remember it was literally after training, and manager was like, "Oh, you've got to," because there's the time difference in South Africa. So it was literally as I got off the field, it's like, "Oh, we got a call with the board," and the board's obviously looking after the stakes and the sponsorships and stuff. It's like, you know, I don't blame them either. And they were just like, "Oh, can you like unlike the photo and like just." Don't comment on it and stuff. And one thing that frustrated me was that they kept telling all the boys that were Christians or like just say they wanted to support you. They said that don't come out and support and show support. But then they allowed boys that like went against it. Non-Christians or just didn't support your message or whatever to come out and speak out. And that's what like rubbed me the wrong way. So like I just stayed like we didn't say much at the time, but we were told. No media, like I wasn't allowed to do any media, but I was like the captain.
So you front the whole
it was weird
team.
because like on Fridays was always like captain's media thing, but like they cancelled heaps of those. Anyways, the board called and they're just saying, can you unlike it and just like not say anything? And man, I was shocked. Like at that, like I just finished training and I just told him like, and thankful for Brad Thorne too, because he said like, I'll back you whatever you want to do. Because he wasn't doing it for me, he was doing it again because he's a strong
he's
man
a Christian,
of God.
strong Christian,
And I just said, look, I'll step down and won't play this weekend, but I'm definitely not unliking the photo. Like, and I wasn't trying to like pull their bluff or like say like, look, I'm not gonna throw my toys. I was just like, look, like I understand where the team stands on, but I'll step back. And I think they knew the influence I had on the boys, and Wallaby season was just around the corner. And they like pretty much did it at 180 and just like, look, no, that's like, we don't want it to be that dramatic. And I just said like, look, we'll find a median. Like I won't come out and say anything, but if they ask me, I will answer it. Like I'm not gonna hide away from my faith. And this is not to support Izzy. This is to support my faith. You know, I think we had conversations about it where, like, yes, you could have like.
The way that it was delivered. You know?
But again, like that's the way God put in your heart. And we spoke
and it
about
was still
that.
it was still the message. You know?
Yeah, it was still the same message. It's not like we were manipulating the message to like you know it's just talking about sin. And so in that space, they kind of like stood back and just realized I wasn't backing down in terms of my faith. And again, there was like 10 to 15 boys in the team at the time all had Christian backgrounds. And they knew, we had meetings about it. Like they were already, if you step down, we're going to step down with you. And we wouldn't have fielded a team that weekend.
That's
and then
crazy.
we wouldn't have, even the Wallabies, like I had a call with Alan at the time. We just spoke like, look, like I'm not talking about like standing down, but like we've got to stand for what we believe in. He was ready. He's like, Bryce, you let us know. And we're all like, you know, because I had a chat with Raylene as well. I think I was just thrown into that position because we liked the photo, like as in Keps and myself.
That's actually crazy to think that you could get in trouble for. Because for liking a post. You know what I mean? Like that, it's classed as a crime. Because I remember other guys from other different sports, like AFL players that were Christians, and they liked the photo. And even other rugby players across the world liked the photo, and they got told to unlike it. Yeah. And I think some of them unliked it. You know what I mean? And that's
there's no
up to them.
Yeah,
that's up to them. But the fact that, you know, we live in a world where you're getting controlled almost to say now what you can like and can't like. You know, that's crazy, what I find crazy.
Yeah. And they would have just went on there and saw any person with a blue tick, I guess, or like athletes, and be like bigot. Yeah. It's like, man, like there's a amount of likes and comments on other things as well. Like you can't just go down on one post, you know. Especially like what annoyed me too, like after that situation or that period, like there was a lot of other things that happened that actually broke the law in terms of sports stars and that, and in sports, and it was just kind of brushed through, like you know, slap on the wrist, like have a couple of weeks off, and
you're welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Whereas like, man, you fired this guy from it. And in terms of just rugby, like being selfish and just thinking about rugby, man, we needed you at the World Cup. You know, that was 2019, a big year for rugby. We had a great team and a great squad. We just needed certain guys more, you know, and it kind of I feel like it wouldn't say it derailed our World Cup campaign, but it kind of almost split the group, because it was just like, oh well, like we can't stand up for our faith because of this situation, and others can say rubbish about this, but you know what, you want us just to keep playing for the team that, you know, doesn't stand for. You want to talk about is it inclusivity? Like for everyone.
Don't even say inclusivity. I hate that word. Like, just say you exclude Christians. Just be clear about that. Don't, because being inclusive is including everyone. And rugby is an inclusive sport. Well, it used to be, not anymore. But what I find really crazy is that during your World Cup campaign at the tournament, like it was just one guy missing. Everyone else was the same. You were all such an amazing team to watch, and you know all the things that you had gone through to the lead up to the World Cup, but the performance on the field was just totally different. I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke. But I'm just saying, in terms of, you know, just one player having an impact on your team, it was really evident to watch. I mean, obviously, I'm married to you, and I'm not saying that just to make you feel good, but it really was. And I just feel like you guys were just still such a great team. You had great management. You know, I externally watch from the outside, and Izzy talks, you know, nothing but good things about the Wallabies. But it was really it was interesting to watch that one person was left out of the team, but the performance changed the whole World Cup.
I think it just affected us. I don't want to say like your soul, but it just affected me in a way where it wasn't physical, but it was just like, like you just. I wasn't angry. I was disappointed.
And that's worse.
That's pretty much worse, because it's like it breaks my heart that like I felt like a sellout in a way, because I was like, well, if I really wanted like to show my faith, I would have just stood down and just be like, you know, really support. But I guess like we had like heaps of conversations throughout that, and he was so supportive of the Wallabies and wanted us to do well. But as much as his presence on the field, it's off the field as well. Like he would lead our Lotu groups, and just like the impact you have on our team, that's what we kind of lost that aura about, especially as a backline, you know, just know, like find Izzy, find KB, find Marika, Te Kurandrani, like it was just like a missing piece that I just wish we had, because and I think the bitter taste in my mouth of how things played out with RA just kind of like left me like, oh, well, you didn't want this part of us, but we still gave our whole. Like, that's how I felt. That's probably the disappointing bit, was like, you want all of me except one part. You know, like, but you want the best thing is what the main part is the main part
who you are.
That fueled the best performances that we have is because of this one part that you think may not be important, but it's the foundation of our whole game, you know, of our life. Which, so when you take out a big part of that, or you say like you stamp it out, it's just like, well, why should you get the best of me then? You don't even want the best of me. Like, so that was probably how he felt. And I like shout out to Cheka. He was really trying to like bring the team together because he felt a certain way of it, but he couldn't say certain things as well. Where he just wanted like the best players, you know how Czech is competitive, and I got a lot of respect for him in terms of just like wanting the best for the team and trying to bring us together in a way. And yeah, it's just disappointing. Like we couldn't be our full potential at the World Cup, and yeah, just that was evident.
Yeah.
You talk about disappointment. That's exactly how I felt at the time, because, like you said, you were the captain of the Reds at the time, and you got all these guys that were Christians, but you guys were told not to come and speak like publicly.
Yeah.
And then they had guys that were, you know, like neutral or whatever, whether they believed or not, didn't matter. They were speaking publicly, and these were teammates, you know. And what disappointed me the most was they were coming out and almost siding with Rugby Australia. Whereas me, if that was me and I was a unbeliever, to me you could keep that neutral. You know what I mean? In the response of, look, he's entitled to his beliefs, and I don't believe in that. But you know, he's a great rugby player. Blah blah blah. Whatever. You know what I mean? You could leave that response like neutral, but the fact that, you know, I think Rugby Australia was in the background, you know, moving and doing all those sorts of things was what disappointed me the most, you know.
And it reminded me of your situation. I remember, it comes back to me now, I think New Zealand netball came out and said something.
Oh my God.
Like, and not even like just to support you, but just to support you. I thought that was like one of the best responses because they knew you as a person, like your character. And something that like gets brushed past, and I know we've said this last week, but like the impact it had on your family. Because I know like my grandfather was praying for you hard, like, you know, but they didn't feel anything. Like just because I liked it, they didn't really feel anything. But for you that posted, and like for your partner to go through that while you're playing, I feel like that's something people don't understand too. And the messages you would have got, the impact on your family and stuff. And I remember watching a game, I think you were playing, but you went and watched, and they were like focusing hard on. I was like, man, just watch the game and support, you know. But they were like seeing you sit next to her dad, and I was just like, I used to think, man, like, what's Mariah going through, like, you know, like.
Oh mate, don't even get me started. I used to go off at this guy because
she did.
I would.
Yep,
he'd
leaving.
No, for sure. We lived in an apartment.
I was in a
Adelaide.
doghouse every day.
Yeah, and he would be in four walls, not hiding, but you know, you're just chilling at home. But I had to go out and perform week in and week out, and because it was in the midst of everything that was happening in 2019. I already felt like everyone in the stadium, not even in the stadium, people watching on TV wanted to see me fail. So it was like every shot I had to get in. I had to catch every ball. I remember I missed a shot. It was against the New South Wales Swifts, and we drew. But I was shooting the shot to win the whole game. And I think there was like 2 seconds to go, and it was literally right under the goalpost, and I missed. And I never miss those goals. And I knew instantly, that's just going to be the headline. The whole crowd was cheering that I'd missed the goal, even though it was our home crowd. And I just remember feeling like, I don't think I can do this every week, because like with the amount of pressure I was on all the time. And then I drove home, he was sitting on the couch, just like, you know, with his KFC and
just chilling.
Hey babe, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've got to do this every single day. Like everyone's watching me, and you get to stay here. And I mean, we obviously went through all those different emotions and it was an interesting time.
It takes a lot of strength for you. And like shows your faith as well in God, like your own relationship. To go
strong.
through that.
Oh, don't.
My
probably doesn't tell you.
My wife's so strong. She is, and I say to her, I go, mate, to go through that time, I didn't have to go out there and perform, you know, under that pressure, but you did, you know what I mean? And it's easy for me to just stay in an apartment or, you know, go around, and I don't have to perform under pressure, you know what I mean? So to go out there in the midst of all that stuff, and that was a World Cup year as well. You know what I mean? Like, and you know that's even more pressure. You know, what I mean? And I remember traveling there. The World Cup was in England, and I was traveling there, and
they would have hated you over there.
Oh, mate,
he had to go. When
I had
landed,
a personal security with me when I landed. He had to escort me out.
No, he escorted you through the back way,
bro.
so not even where everyone goes through the public gates.
And I was like, yeah, this is how you know.
Yeah, this is when you know.
You know, you're not welcome in this place. But anyways, so anyways, you know, during that World Cup, I was honestly I felt for her, you know. But my prayer was that God, please give her strength and, you know, peace and understanding to be able to perform, you know. You know, under this amount of pressure, because it's like
spotlight.
It's heavy, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, they ended up winning, and it was like such a, you know, it was like, oh man, God can just, you know,
funny
the way that works, you know what I mean?
But I mean, you would have been under the same pressure as well at World Cup as well.
Yeah, like it's totally different to. I think it's totally different to where you, because some people like kind of forgot, some people still remembered, and like you just get comments like, you know, you make the World Cup squad, and they just say funny things, you know. You're just like, man, like how does that make your day, you know? Like, how does like my failure will like, because I was getting messages like, hope you break your leg or something in games and stuff, and I just prayed for them, like legit. In my heart, I was just like, I could have been angry, but I was just like, man, like this guy must be really hurt from, or this person must be really hurt from what's happened, because I liked it or supported my faith. And another thing that like disappointed me was other people that were in church like saying, oh, this things could have been done differently, and like just picking at it. It's instead of like, and part of me just wanted to be like, oh, what's the word say? Yeah. Like, are they going to, you know, like what's, when you sin, are you going to heaven? Yeah. Like, what's it, you know, down to the line, what is it? And like, they just would never, they always like maneuver, you know? It's like a mouthful of honey, just boom. Like, I was like, no, well, this guy wanted to go bang, straight in your face and just tell you, like, if we follow this path and the path of the world, this is where it's headed. And you look back now and how RA's gone, as much as I love, want the Wallabies to do well, like just all the problems we've had since then, like straight away from 2019, the COVID, and obviously everyone was affected by COVID, but just what happened with certain people, like it's just crazy, man. All the sponsors that were against it, they're not there anymore. No, you know. So it's just like, well, Qantas
left like not long after.
What was it? Within a year or something?
I think so, something like that.
Well, that speaks for itself, like, you know, like. So a sponsor that's been part of the Wallabies for years, just gone like that, you know. After they got, I guess, given what you wanted, you know. So again, it's all part of God's plan. You sit back and think about the aura of it, like we spoke about, and the amazing things, like we spoke about it after, like 2-3 years after, and how I was in Japan, you were playing in league.
I was in
in league, and like when COVID happened. Like in terms of like just financial side of things, like I was crazy. In my head, I was like, man, like we stood up for our faith and God's blessed us these next couple of years. Man. You know.
So can you elaborate on that for the ones who don't know what you're talking about?
It was more like so COVID happened and a lot of the boys like had a lot of pay cuts. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a tough time with.
That's right. It was like 60%.
60%,
something crazy.
Yeah, and boys were like, man. So some boys, like some young fellas who were on like a small contract, they got put on the dole, and the dole was paying better than their contract, so they just wanted to stay on it. Like, you know, like things like that. When that happens, and I'm sitting in Japan, and I ended up having 7 months off. Yeah, because full pay.
The season got caught off.
Yeah, and like, because those companies, they're like one guy holds the keys, and they're just like, no, it's all right. Like I probably played my first year. I played 3.5 games, and then I was off for 7 months.
And you were getting full pay.
Full pay and everything. Like I came home. I felt so bad for these boys. Like these young fellas that are trying to make their way in the game, and like. And it's just no one's fault. You know, when COVID happened, there's no income for the company and stuff. But
businesses are struggling. And
whereas, like, I was at Suntory at the time, and Suntory's business went up because everyone was at home. Everyone was drinking beer. Yeah. You know, so Suntory was
that would have been.
So they went up, that wasn't even the point. I think it was just like we were doing our job. We can't control, but the company's in a safe space where financially, like, So like in that term, like financials are not everything but I was just in awe of it, like
that you were still
because I was gonna, if I stayed in Australia, I would have signed 4 years on a like really good contract as well, but that would have been cut in half.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, so like the decision to leave and kind of ties back to my brothers, like they were a big part of, as well as the financial security it had going to Japan. My brothers were all there, and I've spent more time with my brothers now in the past 5 years than I have in my whole life.
Wow. Yeah, that's
you know, so
cool.
like that amazing blessings that came from that situation, you know, and probably like a big part of me leaving was like the bitter taste in my mouth after that situation happened.
Right.
You know, just like obviously there's a contracting, the negotiations happen, but in my heart I was like really, really hurt. Like I was like, man, like, you know, you give everything and then just kind of like a slap in the face.
So did you have I'm interested, did you have a conversation with Raylene?
Yes.
Because we actually, well, I don't.
Yeah.
This is new information for me. Like I actually don't know the ins and outs of, you don't need to go into full detail, but was there a conversation with you being the Reds captain and a Wallabies member about what had happened?
Yeah, there definitely was. She called me, and it was just like literally a couple of days after I had that conversation with the Reds in South Africa. We're still in South Africa. We're playing the Sharks. And I remember she messaged, she's a lovely lady. Like I think...
So she used to be my boss.
Oh, that's
she was the CEO for Netball New Zealand.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've had great interactions with her, and I said that to Izzy as well. Like, she's a.
Yeah,
I enjoyed her.
Same as me. Like I had great relationship with her as well, and even like after I don't know if she got fired, but she got let go from IRA after the whole situation. Like I still sent her a message and like thanked her for her service because she was kind of the first woman that in that position for IRA. And like it's funny, like because of our faith, or I like stood back during that situation and looked at it from her perspective, you know, which is like hard to say for during that period. Everyone was just like, from their perspective, you're a bigot, that's it.
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I kind of stood back and just realized, okay, I understand the pressures that she's under. I understand the business, like there's certain ways, and she may have or not be a Christian, but I understand, you know, like have an understanding of it's what God would want us to do, you know. So I had a good conversation with her, and she spoke about how the impact of that post, or like a trust being broken between you two, because you guys would have had a conversation about it, and whatnot. But then she said something really funny to me. She was like saying, look, you could have like picked any other verse and stuff, you know, like we're just saying how like you can still, because I asked her, so if we can't say that, what can we say? You know, and she said, well, we can say any other like nice messages, or there's heaps of messages in the Bible. But I told her like really like the word cannot be changed. Like the word is the word. So if God puts a word in my heart that I need to show to my followers or whoever follows me, it's not even my followers, it's just like who supports me as a rugby player. That's how I'm in this position, because of the word and my faith. And like, we're not perfect. That's the whole point of that message about sin. And she spoke about how like, oh, well, people that look up to you, if they're gay or if they're alcoholics or if they're, you know, infidelity, whatever, if they see that post, like how they're meant to like go on with life if you say that they're going to hell. And I was like saying, well, this is talking about all of us. And then I flipped it and I was like, well, what about the young Christian boy? You know, that is wanting to become a sports star and is struggling with their faith and like, what can I be like, and what sin can I do? Or because the challenges of a rugby player is that we get the world put on a platter, and so how do we maneuver around that? And you got a guy who's at the top of the game, who's been in that position, like who's done all that stuff, and then he's come out there then because he's wanted to follow God. What about that kid? You know, and she was kind of like she's like, oh yeah, I get it, but then, you know, you can post this, post that, and I was like, well, that's unfair for a big group of those kids, because they're all islanders, they all grow up in church, to get put in for one minority, you know, which is because everyone's important, but what about this group as well? Like, you're forgetting both sides of the coin. And like, that's not even going into the ins and outs of the actual post and what it means. Like, again, like I sat there in the conversation And I understood from her perspective. I understand that maybe Qantas is putting the pressure on you guys. Or whatever, the sponsorships, and we want the game to be inclusive and whatnot. It's like, oh, I understand all that. But inclusive to who as well? Like, there's all
inclusive
walks.
Is everyone.
Is everyone, like so.
And being inclusive as well doesn't mean you agree with the same thing. That's the thing, you know what I mean?
We still agree to disagree, and we still love and we still care. And I think that's, the message, I guess, didn't get a real good understanding from when you posted it. And again, we've had that conversation about like the way we could have posted or whatnot, but if that's how God put in your heart, then that's what God put in your heart.
Yeah, because I remember at the time, so when I had the meeting with her initially, and my agent at the time was in there, and everyone that was on the the
board and stuff.
Yeah, they were involved in that. I remember going in, and my agent, I told him before we went in, I said, you know what, you know where I stand on this, you know what I mean? I'm not going to compromise my faith to try and keep this contract, because I was put things in context. I was coming off contract.
Yeah.
So I was coming off contract, and when I had that meeting, and I told him that I wasn't going to compromise. That's when I left the meeting. Raylene actually come out in a press conference after we actually had the meeting and said the opposite to what I said in the meeting.
Yeah.
And I remember I was furious. I was furious,
No,
bro. I watched
we were in Little Bay. We were in our
furious,
apartment.
bro, because she knows what I said, in the meeting, and she was watching it. And I called my agent straight away. Straight after the press conference was done, I said, "You better get on the phone to her and say why did she say that? Because she knows well that I didn't say that. I didn't agree to do any of whatever she said. She knows I don't want to compromise. My faith's important, and they agreed to that. Which is why they ended up re-signing me after that.
No, so you said you were happy to walk away.
So these are in context, because when it
was this after the tweet or the?
Oh, sorry, this was after the tweet and all that.
Yeah.
That was from when it all started. Because after I got terminated, my contract was terminated. A lot of guys were coming out in the media saying, "Oh, he said he would walk away, but they got to understand the context.
Yeah.
The context was I was coming off contract and I had options around, like from overseas and that my manager at the time and I knew, and I wasn't going to compromise because I knew I had that. It was just my faith was the most important thing, So anyways, that's where it all landed, and the way it all finished, I was so disappointed. And like, I got no hate to Raylene or anything. I understand she was in a tough position, but to me, there was an emotional decision. You could have, if there was more time to it, we could have.
Just let it settle a bit.
Yeah, we could have spoken about it more in depth to understand. We might have walked away and not agreed
but
to,
just the way it happened.
but just to understand it, just to, okay, I understand your point of view, you understand mine. You know what I mean? And I want the team to understand that, and all that sort of stuff, which could have been
still played World Cup,
maybe resolved in a different way, because
no one had to walk away from anything. Like everyone could have just talked.
And that's all it was.
Can't heal, because then you look back and now I think people would make different decisions.
Well, because when that happened, you weren't allowed anywhere near the Waratahs facility. You didn't even hear from Daryl Gibson, who was your coach at the time, or even just the captain. Like, for me, if my captain didn't communicate with me, someone who I'd played with for years, and you were in the same position, if she or like Michael Hooper didn't contact you, I'd feel so cut, because this is someone that I, spent a lot of time on the field with. And obviously he doesn't know the ins and outs of your life and who you are, but he knows you as a person, he knows you as a player. And so to not have, the coach and I guess the captain of the team communicate with you was, I know that you're pretty gutted about that.
Well, I was disappointed about that, and that's what I said. Guys were allowed to come out and speak publicly. You could have just been neutral. You don't have to believe in what we believe. That's fine, but you can just easily say, "Oh, look, he's entitled to that," which is everyone's entitled to an opinion, and I don't agree with it. But we're talking about footy, So I think that they made it bigger than what it actually was, and the media storm surrounding the whole thing just magnified the whole situation, And I, during the World Cup, I remember in Adelaide, I didn't really want to watch it because I was disappointed, because I could have been there, I could have been part of that team, and that's what disappointed me the most was like, man, I miss out on that. And there was times where I thought during it, I was like, oh man, why did I post that? Like I just ruined an opportunity, But then I had to bring it back to the Word and be like, hang on, all this stuff that's gone, that we've gone through. It's like the Word says, if the world, Jesus says that, He says that to the disciples, If the world hates you, remember that you hated me first before it hated you, And then He goes on to say, but take heart, for I've overcome the world. And that's when when my thoughts go running in it, I bring it back to that and go, oh, hang on, God's in control. He's got a purpose around everything that happens, and it's all good, Because some days was like,
some days would have been real hard.
Yeah, and even the point to, I never thought I was going to play again.
Yeah,
and I had to trust God for even that, I was trained like that time. I trained so hard, just trained so hard and ready and believing that God was going to provide an opportunity. Yeah. But if he wasn't going to open that door again, then I'd be happy with that as well. Yeah. And I'm just thankful that during that time, we ended up going to France. We signed with the Catalan Dragons for one season. And then in between that, before we went, after that, Clive Palmer, he provided an opportunity here,
Uncle Clive.
Uncle Clive. So thanks, Uncle Clive.
Yeah, get us back.
Yeah. But even providing financially during that time where I didn't think anything would come about that. Yeah. And he was a good supporter at the time. Yeah. But one guy I did admire during that whole thing, which I really respect and look up to as a Christian man and Christian figure, and he's doing a lot in the public space, is Martin Niles. Oh, and he did a lot with that. He was running the ACL, Australian Christian Lobby at the time. And when all this stuff unfolded, he actually come on and took control of that and pretty much helped us out. And he's doing a lot of good work now. He's working for Answers in Genesis in America, which is it's sort of similar to ACL, but on a much bigger scale.
Bigger scale, yeah.
And he's one guy I really respect, like for stepping in and helping us out during that time because man, he had to go through some rough interviews, Yeah. And he was getting smashed left, right, and center, but he stood firm, and that was, I remember, I think he was saying he was praying as well at the time for an opportunity to rise, so that he was able to step in there and take control and be able to talk about the gospel and be able to spread the word during that time, and that was I guess the amazing thing about it.
It's been quite a journey for all of us.
I know.
Mostly you two.
Yeah, well,
I was chilling in Japan. That's why I said, come to Japan, mate.
Yeah, now we're
in Japan. Yeah, exactly.
Samu, has there ever been a time where you have, how should I say, backslid in some case in your life, on and off the field? How did you overcome that in that situation?
Oh, plenty of times, I think to an extent it's like part of being a Christian where the devil tests you and you fail. And I've done that so many times and I still continue to do it in days in terms of like just sinning or thoughts that go astray. And I think it's so important. Like I think when that stuff happens, like people think we're this perfect, that Christians are this perfect.
That's why I'm asking, because there's a stigma about Christians that you live a perfect life and you walk around like you're this perfect figure. It's totally not that. But you,
far from it.
Yeah, total opposite, where you fall short every day, and I think that's where your relationship with God really grows, and with Jesus, because you can't do it by yourself. I think that's as a Christian, it's so important to understand that you need Jesus. You need him in your life. And he's kind of like my North Star and foundation now, where, because like this year I've started to really dig into the word more and trying to read the Bible from start to finish. And then, because, obviously the Bible is in different stages,
different timelines,
different times, and then like just reading through it, and the one thing that keeps standing out, like through Leviticus and Deuteronomy and all that now, is like just the obedience in the word, which is I find like is the biggest challenge for me, because I know what is wrong, or I know what to do is not right, or what to see, to hear, and yet like you just want to touch it and no, it's not right, or you want to do things and then you just understand it brings you back. And it reminds me of a story of we spoke about it before. It's just about sitting on the fence, and it's something that I realize in my own life, like I can't keep being so grateful for these blessings and then not be obedient to God's word.
Still sit on the fence.
Yeah, still sit on the fence. And like the story of it is this guy. He was sitting on the fence, and heaven was one side and hell was on the other. And like one of the angels from heaven came, and he's asked him, "Oh, mate, like why don't you come over this side?" And the guy's like, "Oh, like I don't know about you yet. You know, I don't know about that guy over there yet." Like he's talking about God and Jesus. Like, "Oh, I'm pretty comfortable here. Like I don't know him, but I definitely know I don't want to be on this side." You know, he sees the devil. And anyways, time's ticking. He's like, "Oh, well, we're leaving in 5 minutes. You know, like 2 minutes, 1 minute." And the angel comes back lastly, and he's just like, try to grab, like put his hand out, like, "Oh, come follow us." He's like, "Oh, I'm pretty good here. You know, I don't want to. I know I don't want to go to hell, but I'm comfortable here. You know, like I'm alright. You guys are funny, like, and he can see God. You can see people are happy. You can see the death and destruction on the other side. He's still like, nah, I'm good. And then the moral of the story is that time's up. Yeah. And he's sitting there and he sees God and the angels walk off. And he sees the devil and that all walk off. And then all of a sudden he gets a tap on the shoulder. And it's the devil like grabbing his hand. And he's just like, "Oh, like I didn't choose you. Like, what do you want?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't tell you. The fence is mine." Oh, you know, and you know what I mean? Like, just gives me goosebumps too. Like, just thinking like, don't forget that. Like, don't forget that you living in this life, and it's not just about like for me. Like, I understand there's people that are doing good, you know, following like, you know, some goodness in their heart and everything. But for me, like, a life without Jesus is sitting on the fence.
100%.
You know, so being really weary of that, because for us, we're not talking about this life, we're talking about eternity.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and don't forget that there is a life after this, you know. Everyone, you don't be careful of saying YOLO, because it's not just one life, you know. This is not your only life. You know what I mean? So I always find that with my relationship that it's a constant battle, and I love it also because you yearn for the word. You have to connect more, and I think one of the biggest things in your environment is so important, to have people, and it's not saying don't love other people that walks of life. I think it's being that light, try to be that light in your life, in God's kingdom, so that we can bring others, you know, your family, your friends. There's certain lines I don't cross, you know, and there's certain lines that are still weary to me. It looks like the fence, and I'm, you know, want to touch the fence and stuff, and it's a constant battle. But man, that's the whole point of life too, is turning to someone that for me is a guiding light, as a foundation. Because if not, I'm just like water. You know, I get swayed easily to this way and that way, and if I step back and look at my life without God, I would not be where I stand, you know. Exactly. And I think it's so important that especially the younger generation understand, and even the older generation, you know, like and like, I love the older generation's faith, like seeing how my grandfather operates. It's strong. Like, get me away from the fence. Like, you know, I don't want the fence. I don't want to see or hear the fence. And they're so strong in that side. Is like, I just want the same faith. And again, because of where we've come from in terms of our jobs and stuff, the fence is all around us and saying, "Come here," like, you know, like devil's just enticing us. And I think it's hard. But to answer your question, for sure, like those times in period of my life where I really stepped away from God. Like, you know, I was still praying for meals and everything, but I knew my relationship wasn't strong enough to deal with certain things. Because when certain scenarios did come, then I would turn to God, and then I realized, man, like, imagine how He feels. Imagine how He feels. I recently saw this reel about God going to like a dinner place, and it's a table for two, and he's sitting there, and the waiter comes and he's like, "Oh, are you waiting for someone else?" Like, yeah, I'm waiting. They're saying they're around the corner, and like, "Oh, okay." 30 minutes go past, 2 hours go past. Waiter comes back. He's like, "Oh, do you want to order now?" I was like, "Oh, no, I'm waiting for my person's coming." 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, like, and then the person finally comes. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late." And it comes, sits down, and he's just like, "Oh, thank you so much for that new job. Like, yeah, it was really good. Anyways, I gotta go," and then leaves again. And it's just God sitting there, like He's waiting for you, like, you know, like He's waiting for you to connect. He's waiting for you to, man, have 5 minutes in a day or 30 minutes in a day just to connect to Him. And I got so busy, again, similar to what you're saying with rugby and becoming this wallaby. Got so busy that I forgot, hey, my relationship with God is as important.
Yeah, and we can get caught up in that, like just with how busy life is, you know. You can go about, you know, thinking about how to set up certain things for the future. Or, you know, worrying about rugby and that, and we can't even give dedicated time to God, who's like the source of life, you know. The reason why you actually woke up that day was because of Him, you know. And that's something that's like always a constant reminder to us, you know, because He's the only one that can fill that void, you know, that will give you that peace, you know. And I like what you said before, that there's a lot of people out there that can live lives that are, you know, they do good things and they, you know, live great lives, but people that don't believe in God, you know, can even live those type of lives, you know. But like you said, a life without Jesus that's not true, like life, you know, because, you know, He's, like you said, it's not only this lifetime, but it's the next one, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. You know, we talk about this walk, this Christian walk that we face. As Christians, you know, we're faced with so many battles, you know, and it's not perfect and all this. And it reminds me of what the Apostle Paul says, you know. He talks about that sin, and he says, the things that I want to do, I don't do. But the things that I don't want to do, I actually do. And that's the battle, you know, like we fall into that trap. Yeah. And he goes on at the end and he says, but who can save me from this body of like sin? And he says, I thank God, you know, my Lord Jesus Christ, you know, through the gospel, you know, that Jesus, that's the reason why Jesus died and rose again, you know, is to save us from our sin. And it's as straightforward as that, you know. There's no amount of good things I can do. Like, being good won't get me to heaven, you know.
No, for sure.
Because if that's the case, no one will get to heaven. But it's just purely believing and putting our faith in, like, Jesus, that He did die for our sins, you know. And it's a constant battle. But we always talk about that, babe? Yeah,
we have struggles all the time. And like you said, the Christian walk isn't... it's never easy, but our hope and our faith and our source of life and being, we know that we can go to God for everything. And even just being, I mean, parents, like we've got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old.
They test your patience.
Oh man, just enjoy your sleep and take your time.
There's no rush,
sleep.
No rush at all. But we talk about those challenges that you know, obviously being athletes. Well, for me, I was an athlete. Now I'm a full-time mum, and Izzy's doing, you know, juggling both at the same time. His job is still a lot easier because he goes to work like 10 hours of the day, and I'm at home with the kids. But you're right, it's never easy. Well, whatever facet of life that you're in, it's the Christian walk is always hard, and you're always going to face struggles, which is what we, you know.
Yeah, we talk about constantly.
We're at the clubhouse for long days, you know, like 6-7 hours. So when you go home and we have a team stuff again, I always like take that into consideration, like the dad, so let's have it straight after training so then they can go home. Whereas some guys would just be like, no, we'll stay.
That's so sweet.
No, because
I'm thinking,
every time he tells me it's a team thing, I just roll my eyes, and then the rest of us mums start texting in the group like, they've just been at training all day, now they got a team thing.
Because like I've done heaps of like the coffee connects with the boys, and I'm always like, always really like, make sure we try to smack it right after. Because as important as our team connection, the family connection is important. And when for like guys like myself, scones, or guys that are just like no families there, we've got all the time in the day, so we can work around it, you know. And I find that really important because then some days you just want to invite the families as well. And, but again, like the kids, like it's a big job. Like we can't just be like, oh, let's catch up this afternoon.
It's not as easy.
It works around the kids, like the kids' schedules and stuff. So all that stuff
comes into. I think you're going to make a great dad.
No,
I
that
do.
stuff goes into consideration.
Great father hearing all this.
That's why, like I said, that's one of your best traits is like connection to, teammates or just the people you come in contact with, because it's like, that's something that,
Yeah, I just understand too, like with rugby, as great as like the financial side, the freedoms of it, the championships, the locker room is what you're gonna miss the most when footy's done. Like it's kind of like high school because you see those guys every day, like literally every day except Sunday.
I know.
Even on a Wednesday, I'll be seeing those boys, and even on Sunday, I see those. Like I see squads literally every day. And it's just funny because like when you get cut off from that, and it's just like your family, which is still really important. It's just such a different transition outside of it. So. Where we can, like I know next year for our team as well, it's going to be really important that we have that connection. But even connecting it to the families is going to be important. Having more like kids days and stuff where we just open up the clubhouse. I think it'd be really, really good because we got more guys having kids now.
You might be next.
No, take your time.
So I'm really interested to know what your plans are after footy. Like, do you have anything set up for the
as an entrepreneur?
No,
definitely.
I'm really interested to know.
Oh, I love talking about this because like we've had all conversations about properties and I think for me the biggest space is I got like a apparel company, Chewy, and working on that in terms of the sports space.
Awesome.
Like delivering sports apparel, but also like lifestyle apparel for supporters, like supporters gears. So we're with brothers at the moment, and I love that space in terms of the supporters gear because I feel like there's so much growth in that companies can do. That's definitely one avenue after rugby, but I think the biggest one on my heart is not necessarily the management side of the game, which is with New Star Sports, who we're both with. But the mentorship, I think is so important.
I think we're speaking about this.
For this generation, like we've already touched on how the many traps and distractions as a footy player, but there's also like the financial stability side of things, the family side of things. There's a lot of young guys having kids, and that relationship part of it, and then to tie it all back in is like the performance on the field. As important it is on the field, it's also important the other aspects that come with it. So I definitely want to be in that space where to help the next generation, and not just the player but the family. I think it's so important right now that we miss that. That first time we meet a player, we sit down with them and their parents. But I would like to change it and sit down with the parents first, and get the understanding of their child, because they'll know them the best. But also understand the parents, their financial situation, and this is not to like dig into their family, but just if I'm gonna help manage a kid, I want to know the parents and how his environment is.
The family dynamics in that work, particularly with the Islanders, Fiji and Samu Tongans. It's a lot of the decisions that are made from the parents is based on cultural stuff, So like you got the young kid who's the talent, who grows up in Australia, New Zealand or whatever. He's got a different set of mindset because of the way, he's gone to school and
for sure.
On. The parents have come from the islands and they have they've got a mindset that's totally different. And they, their intention is to want to give the best they can for their kid, but they're going about it maybe the wrong way, And it's about, like you said, it's about educating the parents on, like, for example, like thinking long term, investing the money now so that you can get the fruit of that for a longer period of time later on, So that's probably the hardest thing, is breaking down those barriers.
Or like they only know what they know. And it's no one's fault. Like it's not like you have to. It's basically just an understanding and education from both sides. Like, hey, like let me understand you. Okay, can you understand where we want to take your son or your daughter? but also like what's the barriers in the way, what's the culture side of things, but also connecting them to people that know that area well. Like if it's property, someone who's invested really well, like yourself, and probably you too, like, you know, like, or who's Uncle Clive Palmer. You know, if you could get him on the phone and then talk about business opportunities, or just, it's not even about like them, like, oh, well, this is give you this. It's just like knowledge. It's like, hey, this is rugby can. You'd be lucky to get 2 years, and you can be lucky to get 10 or 15. Like, you know, we just don't know.
It just takes an injury.
It just takes one thing, like one incident. So this money's not going to last forever. No. So while you have this opportunity, what's the best way we can? I think you spoke about it before. Leverage.
Leverage it or maximize that income that's coming in.
Yeah, and one is income, one is your profile, one is other players and connections that you make. There's so many, like, especially the rugby communities. Man, it's all over the world. You know, rugby league's great, but rugby union too can be all parts of the world. It's a global game. Which is a space I think rugby league do really well, is connecting like ex-players with the team, but also with like work after and things. So, and that's probably that's like, glad you asked the question, because it's probably one of the scariest part is post-rugby. You know, I like to hope I'm like 10 years away, but the closer I think about just my body and how an injury can take it all away, I'm definitely have planned things and put things in place where straight after I can, you know, take a break when I need to after rugby, but then just step into certain roles, and because I can't just be still, you know. Because I've thought about like going to the mines and just want like hard work just to really humble me and being like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, work for like, hey, this is life. Because rugby was been blessed to, like, say, hopefully play, you know, 15 years, 20 years. Still got another 40, and I think
the rest of your life. You know,
we forget that as rugby players. I think when you get to like 35, 40 years old, and you're still playing footy, and you're like coming toward, you think my life's over. And it comes back to the foundations. Like, are you the rugby player, or are you, you know, a husband, a father, a son, or a Christian, or like, you know, a follower of Christ? If you base your stuff and you idolize just your career, or then like you're working, what is it? You work to live instead of live to work, or you know, whatever the saying is. So, as much as I've put things in place, I think the biggest thing I'm preparing for myself, and slowly every day, is to understand I'm not my career. Like,
doesn't define you.
Doesn't define me. So that's probably the, like, I think I can always, like, man, if I had to work in McDonald's, I'll. If I had to provide and I had to work in McDonald's, I'll do that. But I think the biggest battle for me is to take that Wallaby jersey and the Suntory and the Reds, and just be like, hey, this was an awesome part of my life. It's gave me the vehicle to be where I am, but
that's not who
I'm still someone. I'm still someone. I'm still the kid from Wunda VCC. You know, raised by my grandfather and my grandparents, and God's the foundation. Child of God. Like, that's the hardest bit. Like, if you just to ask me, that's the hardest bit.
And that's really like big for you to say, because, you know, we hear and we see a lot of athletes who were at the top of their game, earned millions, had $1 million contracts, and are dead broke now because of the decisions that they made in life, and which is really, like, we know a few people, and it's really, really sad to see. But in your career, who has, you know, you end up, the environment that you're in, you end up, you know, like them. So like, who's been a pillar in your life in terms of business and finances and just off-field stuff that have really guided you and help you to think that way? Because a lot of us athletes don't have that around us.
Oh, mine would be Shane Arnold. Shane Arnold is a fellow that gone real close with since I was young, and obviously my management team, just like, as much as the rugby side is so important to them in helping, just their thought process off the field. So Shane Arnold is my accountant. He started off as my accountant, and he does a financial advisory role for myself. But he was also my coach. So before that, he was my coach at Jeeps rugby, and I met him when I was 17, 18 now. Man, without him in my life, I'm so grateful for him. like just like even thinking about it makes me like really happy that he's like, you know, he's not someone I met at church. He's not. He just cared about me from a young age, and it wasn't because of my footy player, because he was the second coach to drop me from Jeeps. So I was like 19.
Oh, wow.
He dropped me from Jeeps to go play Colts and stuff, and like I remember him saying to me like, "Oh, are you disappointed?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm all right." You know, as a young kid, you're like, "Nah."
Yeah.
Head coach is asking if you're disappointed. I'm all good, all good.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, I want you to be disappointed. You know, I want it to hurt, because if not, it doesn't matter to you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shucks!" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm actually disappointed." Like, I was actually cut, but I was like, "Oh, I didn't want to say anything." He's like, "Good, like work hard and come back on the outside." And I got real close with him, where he helped me with just started off with like, "Oh, do you need help with finances?" And he does it with with New Star, just helping the boys, like, you know, start saving. And from then on, like, what he's taught me in terms of the business aspect, buying properties, saving, like just getting in good habits, and thinking about post-footy. Like, he started talking about post-footy maybe 5 years ago with me. Like, you know, I was at the height of heights, and he's straight away, he was just like, humbled me, and he's just like, "So what are you doing after rugby?" Like, you know, and I was like, man, I'm like, you know, I'm 24 years old, 25 years old. Like, I'm all good, bro. Like, you know, and
You think you got ages,
you think you've got ages, and then like from those little conversations, just helped me accept, man, this is not forever. You know, I'm not made of steel. Like, it's gonna end. And he's definitely one person that's just helped me, obviously on hand with the finance, but just open my eyes to our other side. And I guess Quady's probably another one. We've had so many conversations about just. And obviously wearing his stuff now, like he's based in the apparel business, and he loves fashion. Just giving different ideas, talking about life, has been so important to me, because he's obviously at the end of his career, and he's put things in place and stuff. But it's always a fear as well, you know, like probably that fear factor of what we're gonna do, and like to find passion after rugby when rugby's been it's not even a job to us. Like, it's a real passion. We love it, and yes, there's a paycheck that comes in, but if we didn't love it for this long, you would have finished a long time ago. There's a lot of boys that could have kept playing, have finished because that love for the game is gone. So trying to find that love for after rugby and what it looks like is important as well. So yeah, I think definitely Shane Arnold's been a guy that's walked me through my life at the moment, and will continue to walk me through towards the back end, because like the stuff that he talks about is for life. Like, is to help this generation, hopefully my next generation of my family, and definitely at home as well.
And we all need a Shane Arnold in our life. I think it's really important and prevalent that, you know, athletes that are coming up have someone of that pillar and figure to be like that. And it's great that that's what you want to do after footy, is to, especially our culture. I mean, you think about it. You've the way that we've grown up. We've got $0 in our account, and then one day that changes at the flip of a switch to like 50, 100 grand. I mean, I don't know what the starting rate for NRL and rugby is. Netball's probably like 15,000 or something.
Grateful.
It's still a lot of money.
No, it is.
Coming from zero.
From nothing.
It is, and instantly you think, oh wow, I'm rich. Like,
you can easily blow that. Like, it's easy to spend money, you know.
Easily.
So if you don't get the guidance, one thing I always encourage young guys that come into the professional system is, when you get opportunity to network, make the most of it. Because I know when I look back when I was young, I was a shy kid. You know, you come across like people that are, you know, sponsors like parties or functions, and you get the group of boys that are shy, or the islanders stick together, they just stay in the corner, you know what I mean? But if you're a young kid coming through now and you're listening to this, I encourage you to go network. Network, and, you know, try and break that barrier where you might meet someone that would help you from then up until you finish. And even after you finish, you know, you might be a guy that works in the car dealership, you know, or
sponsorships.
Or something, you know. It's just, you just never know. So it's encouraging guys to do that. But like you said, you know, because we don't know. We're footy players, you know what I mean? That's what we're good at. We're not good at like finance. We're not good at, you know, not all of us are educated in those sort of things. So you need people and the right people to, you know, either point you in that direction and help you guide you to maximise that window, like you said. like I've come across guys that are recently retired, and that's what one common thing they say is that they talk about it as a dark space. They're like, bro, this was the hardest time is when you transition. And I admit that I've been thinking about that lately as well, even though I still got a couple of years on the current contract, but like I don't know what's going to happen after that, you know what I mean? So it's just putting those things into place so that the transition can be smoother than
what it is now.
Than what it is, and that's like you said, it's the most important. Yeah, it's scary, but you can bring that down to make it,
easier,
a little bit easier and comfortable. So
make it easier. Buy a house like this. Yes.
Oh, I don't know about that,
We're broke now.
God is good.
No, but it's been awesome having you here, and like you're a really private person. I Wikipedia'd you and couldn't find any information about you.
No.
I mean, Izzy knows you to a T, and now I know why he, has so much love for you and care for you, not just because of your faith in God, but also just the type of person that you are, and like your values are the same as our values. And I think it's really cool for you to share your story here with us. We thank you for your time. We pray for you always, and look forward to seeing you back in Japan in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in a few weeks. But just before I leave, I remember forgot to talk about it before, like talking about that faith and how important it is. Like, I think back to 2019, without you two going through that, I was recently in Sydney. I got off the plane and I caught an Uber, and when I was in an Uber, this guy was like, I think he knew who I was, but didn't want to really like speak. And we were just talking about his family. He's from Italy. He's Italian, and he was talking about. For some reason, we ended up talking about faith. Anyways, he talked about that year and how like this is just the impact of our faith, And he talked about that year and how he said he loved this guy, and it's just like, man, it's so good that you guys stood up for his faith. If I ever meet the guy. And I was sitting there and we were literally talking about, the party next week. I messaged guy, you free? And FaceTimed him. And he was shocked. Like, he was like, and he told you on the phone. Spoke to him on the phone. And he was just like, thank you for standing up for your faith. I pray for you. And I didn't know this guy from a bar of soap. I just met him at the airport. And I just think it's so important because, like, even now with the potty, like we can spread that word and how important like faith touched his heart. This is he still remembers from 2019 and what happened to you, and how like he spoke to it about it in the car ride on the way to Coogee, just like how disappointed he was in RA. He loved rugby. This is an Italian guy, like he's still fresh, like the way he spoke. And I was just sitting at the back, like listening to him in awe. I was just thinking, bro, this is what like this. I was just like, this is 5 years ago, and this guy still prays for him, and how like the situation, how it happened. And I was just thinking about it because we were talking about, I was messaging you literally about the podcast, and I was thinking, imagine the reach that we have now, and the fact that we have a platform similar to networking, but just to share our faith and connect with other people that have the same faith or the same road that we want to go to in terms of like after rugby and things. And just want to commend you two too. Thank you for having me, but also like keep pushing what's true in your heart, because without it we wouldn't have really gotten closer. You know what I mean? Like maybe the footy would just stay footy, and we're still close, but like I felt like that really brought us together because of our faith, and just like a small aspect of our life that's big in our lives that brought us together. And like it's just funny, like 5 years later we're playing together the same team. So and now we're sitting in this nice, beautiful home and talking about how God loves us. And,
man, that's awesome to hear. Like we talk about it a lot. We don't see the fruit, everything that God's done or the impact, like you say, from what happened in 2019. But like you said, you met that guy as an Uber driver, and he's been impacted by that. And not that we would take any credit for it, because it's all glory to Jesus. He's the one that does the work in and through us. We're just people, like sinners. You know what I mean? And he's just using us to do that. So the fact that God allowed that to happen for His purpose is something. Like I said, didn't not only refine us, but it had an impact on other people. And that's the whole point of doing this, I guess, this podcast is like share our faith, share how like, challenges we find ourselves in, and that we're not perfect, and being vulnerable about talking about these things, because that's what it's like, you know. And I'm sure people can relate to that. And I think today was awesome, bro. So thanks for having. Thanks for coming on. You know, we appreciate it as our first guest on the potty. You know.
Yeah, I've loved it. This is like therapy for me. So and I'm so glad that you're here, and that like I've gotten to know you as well. So I see you at the cafe and I say hi, and that's about it. How's your day? How are the kids? But I think it's really awesome for people that are watching to really get a glimpse of your upbringing, why you're the reason, why you're the way that you are, and how God has changed you and molded you into the person that you are today. So thanks, Samu.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Arigato.
Arigatou gozaimasu.